he went down and he had a look at Lena's new house and at Lena's old house, and he met Talia and they chatted. Talia is probably better at English than Lena, and we know what we all went through and are going through with the ongoing love story of Lena and Mike, and we're all very interested in how that's going. All I know is this, Lena looks better every day that I see her. She has become more groomed, she's become more, I don't know, more at ease with herself, more confident, more fun, and she always looks great. So that should tell you something about the quality of a relationship, because what I've noticed is that if it's a destructive relationship, one of the partners, usually the one that you care most about, starts to look worse, and they start to dress worse, and they start to look kind of grey and beaten. That's what I've observed in bad relationships, and I've observed that in my own relationships, you know, that things that were not that good for me. And here's the thing, you can have two good people come together and their chemistry is so the wrong way, they both start to drive themselves down. That's when you have a divorce and they need to get away from each other. So what I see for Talia is that she's something like, I think, 42 or 43. She has 2 children. Now, she has 2 children, extremely limited finances, and no education to speak of. So, what are her prospects? Now, if we were talking about someone else, let's say that we're talking about your son or your daughter, and they're in school and you're trying to counsel them on the kind of education that they should have. They'll say, if they say, well, I would like to be a trapeze artist, and you would say, okay, well, what would your prospects be on that at the moment? I mean, how many circuses are there that are using trapeze artists? Though, let's face it, they are wonderful people. And you would go into what their prospects were. And if your lovely daughter brings home a guy who looks downtrodden, and when you start to talk to him, he's inarticulate and doesn't know how to express himself, and you say to him, so son, what's your education? What did you study? Oh, I left school when I was 15, which actually I did too. But if it transpired that he had no interest in receiving any kind of advice, education, help in doing something that would bring him the ability and the finances to support a family, the family that he would have with your lovely daughter, what would you be saying? You would be full of practical advice. Well, wait a minute, son, you know, maybe you should be looking at somebody else than my daughter. So, the video is about to take another turn. Are you ready?
Yeah. What's the topic about it?
Well, the topic is about Alfred and Talia, and that there have been criticisms. Of course, let's face it, Mike was put through the grinder. You'd think that he was public enemy number 1 before he finally started talking to people and showing them that he was personable and likable and so on. And now Alfred is having a little of the same, isn't he?
Yeah, I think I think they're meant for each other. That's my. I know it's been few days. It's just few days that we're with him, right? But we got what do you call that, Han? Instinct guts.
A gut instinct.
Yeah, a gut instinct that
An
he's a good
instinct
guy. You know, that he's a good guy, and I think it's also he what as what Terence said is he just want to have a simple life. He's not preparing on old a young woman, right? Because we have visitors before, right? And they've been looking for women, right? But what they're looking is younger, and we know that that's the
how can they
fact.
possibly do that?
That's the fact. That's the FACT. That's the reality. You know, that's the fact and reality that foreigner is looking for younger because they can, and it's very. I think 1 to 10% foreigner, only maybe 8% looking for young, and only 2% looking for older for companionship.
Out of 10%.
Out of 10%, and that's the reality.
So out of 10, out of 10, 2 are looking for an older, more mature person, and 8 are looking for
Younger.
young.
Yeah.
Right, so there's nothing, we're not judging that. We can hardly judge that, can we? Because look at me and look at this one that's sitting next to me. How can I judge anybody for saying that they want to meet a younger woman? Well, they have their frame of reference too. And
Yeah.
so it's possible that they're looking for someone who is, say, childbearing, and we can't judge them for that either, can we? With our travels.
Yeah, and I think they're just been besides they're getting to know each other, right? They're in getting to know
back
each
on
other.
Alfred and Talia now.
They've been getting to know each other, so there's still a month because he's been here for 7 weeks.
He's going to be
He's,
here.
he's
for
going to
7
be here
weeks.
for 7 weeks, and once it worked out, he's gonna go back to Thailand, and then by August or September, he's gonna come back here for good, right? So that's the update about them. But so far, Alfred went early morning to Talia talking, so they're getting to know each
He
other.
also went and had a cigarette. Terrible. He went and sat under the mango tree, and Talia brought him a cup of coffee early in the morning, and later she came back with some bread. I mean, these are small things, but there's a joining there which we are hopeful for them.
Yeah.
We're hopeful for them. Now, let me put something else to you as well, and that is, isn't there such a thing as divine intervention? Now, if you're an atheist and believe that this is all nonsense, this is the time to go to another video, because I can't help but feel, for me personally, that there is something which drives a person in a totally unknown direction. Why, living in Florida, which every Filipino, you could talk to almost 99% of the Filipino people and said, would you like to have a life in Florida, the USA? And they would say, oh my God. See, and yet I had that life there, and I decided that I was going to leave and have another adventure. And I was driven by some invisible force, I think, to come to the Philippines. I'd intended, from the mind point of view, that I would go on to Thailand. For some reason, that wasn't to be. And then, for some reason, I mean, this is literally how it happened for me. Just for some reason, I looked at Cebu, and I thought I'd like to go there. And I mentioned it to a friend, and he said, oh, Cebu is terrific. You can go to so many different places from Cebu, you know, different islands and so on. It's a wonderful place. I love it. So I came out here for 5 days. Now, I got to tell you that I tried to meet people. Believe me, I tried. I met one who knew a lot of places that you could rent, and so she spent the day with me in a tricycle, and we drove around and we looked at all these different places. It was never going to be anything between her and I right from the start. It never was. It was just purely that she would help me. And that end was one day. I tried to meet other people. Now, for a foreigner struggling to meet people, straight away I'm not into doing the bar scene, so I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to go to places of public entertainment which are selling alcohol. It's just not going to happen, right? So, and then the night before I am coming back to Mabalaka, which is where I was staying, I had exchanged a few texts with Beth, and I knew that she was too young for me, and she knew that I was too old for her. But I liked her picture, and she liked mine, and so we just decided to meet, and that was the day of an earthquake. And her reasoning at the time, I remember, was, well, I'm too scared to stay in my boarding house, so I'll come and meet you. And the rest, of course, the rest is as you saw just a couple of minutes ago. So there is such a thing as divine intervention. And why, on the basis of meeting someone as I did with Beth, would I say, look, I am coming back to Cebu as soon as I've sold up my things in Mabalacat. But I don't think that we should see anybody else. So I'm prepared to say that I will promise not to date, see, lunch, dinner, talking, chatting, anyone else. And she said, me too. And we swore a loyalty to each other based only on talking for several hours. And then I came back, and well, by that time it didn't seem like there was a whole load of choice. I felt that it was good. It was something that would work. Back then I didn't even know what our mission would lead us to, but we stayed with it. We committed. We were loyal to each other, and I said we must be loyal to each other, because if I come back after a month and then we have our stories to tell, well, yes, I did date that one, and yes, we did do this and that, and I knew that would never work for me, and it was the right thing to do. So what do you take a guess here with me? What made Alfred get on a plane, come here to Cebu on a ferry to Bohol, which is a little tin pot island, I can tell you. It's with limited resources and hundreds of thousands of square miles of rolling hillside, mountaintop, which is where Beth and I live. He turned up about 3 days ago in a tricycle. We had never met him. He had sent one email saying that he would like to come and stay. I didn't answer that email. It got lost in another 18,000 emails that I have in my inbox. And so I get up. I'm actually stood there in the house in a towel, about to get in a shower, right, to bathe. And Beth said, there's a foreigner down there to meet you. I said, well, what am I supposed to do with a foreigner? She said, well, he's here to meet you. Well, I'm going to have well, anyway, after a lot of protestation, I just threw some clothes on and I went down to meet him. He wanted to stay with us for 7 weeks, and at first I thought, how can we do this? And I looked, and there's his suitcase in the tricycle. Well, we just took him in, and then his story unfolded. What, you know how he found us? He found us by getting into Taliban, getting in a tricycle and riding around in the tricycle looking for the bridge that we built, which is 2 miles away from the main road. And he's passing bridges and saying, no, that's not the one, the pillars are not round. And then, if you don't believe in divine guidance here, I don't know what would make you. They stop and they ask a man in Burgos, he says to the man, excuse me, sir, do you know a man called Terence Martin? And the man said, actually, yes, I do. And Alfred said, I'm looking for him. Now, he'd already been told, you'll never find him. You don't have an address. How can you, what, you're going to go somewhere in Bohol and say, excuse me, do you know where Terence Martin lives? And that's what he did. That person that he spoke to was Pastor Timio, my brother-in-law, who escorted the tricycle taxi driver to our house. And now it turns out that he has found someone that he likes, who likes him. How can you put all that down to coincidence? I can't myself. So when people talk about, well, you could get somebody better than what? You know, I like the that movie comedian who said, she said, I just read that penguins mate for life. So they meet their partner, and that's it, they mate for life. Well, what are they going to do? Find a better looking penguin? And on that note, I say, let's look and listen and not say too much judgmental stuff and see how it goes. Which is exactly what I said with Mike. Give the guy a chance. Let's see how it goes. Thanks for looking in. This has been about Alfred and Talia, and my God, I wish them the best. Bye for now.